Afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today on emotional intelligence for career growth.
Guess we'll give a couple of minutes or so for most more people to join us, and we'll start very soon. Hi, Shirley. Thank you for being the first. Wow, Vinod. Okay, won't be able to keep up with everyone, but hello. Very nice to see
Oh,
you
so
all.
fast, so fast. The chat is filling up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Yes. Hello, everyone, and thank you for sending your messages in the chat box. And maybe while we're waiting for people to join, we can go through the housekeeping. Yeah. What do you
Yep.
think, Deepa? Yes. So
Yep.
again, welcome everyone to our webinar. So we just spend a minute on our housekeeping while you're joining. So yeah, make sure that everything is working all right. If you need to reboot your laptop, if you feel there are some connection problems, make sure that you can hear and see us all right. And if you experience any problems, just the message in the chat at Naluri events to our moderator, and they will assist to you if you have some technical issues during the webinar. All right. And so this is an interactive session, and we encourage every one of you to send your questions, feedback, comments in the chat. We will also have some polls and some questions to you. And if you would like to ask us private question, you can always send it directly anonymous, right? You can tick send private message box. Yes. And if you want to send the question to Deepa or to me directly, you just put at Lidia or at Deepa, and we will see your questions afterwards. All right. So I guess this all for the housekeeping, and I can see more people are joining. So I think I'll just move forward. And maybe we go through the introduction, right? Okay, so I will be today here with Deepa. My name is Lidia. So I am an Naluri executive coach. I work with Naluri mostly on life and career related topics with different levels of corporate executives and individuals on many different career related issues: career growth, career change, purpose, well-being, stress management, and emotional intelligence as well. So I'm a certified coach with International Coaching Federation, and I'm also currently on my 5th year and hopefully the final year of pursuing my PhD degree in human resource management. And before that, I worked for 10 years in corporate in different industries such as banking, startups, e-commerce, and pharmaceutical. So I'm very happy to be here today, and I pass it to you, Deepa. Oh, sorry.
Okay. No problem. Hi, everyone. My name is Deepa, Deepa George, based here in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur. So currently, I'm on my own. I have my own practice in HR consulting and training and coaching. But before this, I've also got 24 years in corporate HR. So I was a pioneer at Maxis, wonderful company. For those of you who know the telco organization, I was in banking, did my growing up in HR there. Then I was also at DHL Express, and more recently in Roche Pharmaceuticals as the head of HR. So I love HR. I love people issues, and I think all of you as employees want the best leaders. Leaders want the best employees. So there's nothing too complicated about that. My background is in psychology, but I'm not a psychologist. So I'm a HR practitioner, and happy here with Lydia to be able to share some hacks for all of you about what works, and including mistakes that I've made, throughout the career when it comes to emotional intelligence in our jobs. Okay.
Oh, very impressive. Very impressive.
No, so maybe we'll move on. Lydia, yeah.
Yes. So me and Deepa, we prepared a small poll for you to test the waters to see what do you think. So what does emotional intelligence mean? What is your understanding? So you can choose from understanding your own emotions, being able to empathize, or maybe it's good communication skills, or maybe when you're able to manipulate others for your own interest, or maybe none of that. So let's see what is happening in our poll. I can see that the leading answer is understanding your own emotions.
Yeah.
And then we have being able to empathize. Okay, so some 3 people answering being able to manipulate others. Well, why not?
I respect the yes, I respect the honesty of these 3 people who said, that that's something that can be used as well.
Yes, yes. Yeah, if we know what other people are feeling, right, and we know how to play on their emotions, right, to get our own interest, that also could be a part of emotional intelligence. But then it's the purpose of emotional intelligence, how we use it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being so engaged and answering the poll. And so the majority of you is saying that it's understanding your own emotions. So it means being aware, knowing what you're feeling, being able to name your emotions, to verbalize them, and to know at the particular moment of time, what is the current emotion that I'm experiencing. And then the second is to be able to empathize, to understand what other people are feeling at this point of time, what kind of emotions they're going through. And the third is good communication skills, right? So when we understand our emotions, when we understand the people, right, we can read the group or we can read the person in front of us, we can build our communication accordingly, right? And then, okay, some are saying none of that, and being able to manipulate others. Okay, so I would say, I don't know what you think, Deepa. I would say some of these really reflect emotional intelligence, but not all of these answers are fully encompassing what emotional intelligence means.
Yes. And I think between, now and the next slightly under an hour, we hope to be able to cover that, but not only understanding what it means, its purpose, and how do you use it to your advantage, and how do you overcome the challenges. I think that's what Lydia and I hope to be able to cover for the rest of this hour.
Yes, absolutely. So how we make the best out of it, right? Because emotional intelligence, at the end of the day, it's the skills that we have. So let me just start here and to talk a little bit about the background of emotional intelligence. So basically, emotional intelligence consists of our emotions, right? And how we are we aware and how we manage our emotions, how we regulate our emotions, and how we understand emotions of others. So it's self-awareness, self-management, and our social skills and relationship management. So actually, emotional intelligence is a huge umbrella that embraces a lot of different skills and competencies. But behind emotional intelligence is each particular emotion. And what is emotion? And we experience tons of emotions every day. Basically, emotion is our reaction to any change in the external world. I wake up in the morning, the sun is shining, I'm happy, right? Or it's raining outside, I feel maybe not so happy, right? I feel a bit sad. So every time something is changing at the workplace, outside, we are reacting accordingly with our emotions. And it's very important to know that none of the emotions last forever. Our emotions keep changing in our body very, very fast. And sometimes we are not even aware of our emotions because sometimes, for example, we get angry so fast, we're not even aware that we are angry at this moment. But if we are aware of our emotions, we can take the information out of them. Each emotion provides us with the information about our thoughts, and it can provoke certain behavior. And good news, so why are we here today? We can manage our emotions and we can use them to our benefit and to reach our goals, including career goals as well. And it's important to emphasize, I think, because sometimes we think to be angry is bad. To be resentful is bad. To be sad is not good. We need to be happy. We need to be delighted, pleasant, smiling, and so on and so forth. But actually, there are no good or bad emotions. There are just emotions, and our attitude to them makes them good or bad. We think, oh, maybe being angry is not good right now, but actually, you're just angry. So, and each emotion has intensity. So, next time, for example, you feel sad, you can understand, am I sad like from 0 to 10? Where is my sadness? Maybe I just feel melancholic today. So, sometimes it's very difficult to pinpoint the specific emotions that we have. So, we can use the scale from 0 to 10, the intensity of emotions. And my question to you, you can answer in the chat. So me and Deepa, we really want to know, what are 4 basic emotions out there? So there are 4 basic emotions, also like an umbrella under which there are many, many, many different levels of emotions. What do you think are these? So we are very curious to know, and please type your answers in the chat. Okay. Happiness, fear, sad, anger. All right. Yes, yes. So actually, everyone knows. You're very well prepared for our webinar today. Yes, yes. So many of you are actually naming the 4 basic emotions: is sadness, is happiness, is fear, and anger. And then we have subgroups of many, many different emotions that coming from these main groups. All right, well done. Deepa, is there anything that you would like to add on here?
No, I like the fact that everyone is aware of this. I think there's some really good movies that have come out as well that helps us address these kind of emotions, right, recently. And Fatin is laughing about that as well. Yes, that's interesting. So you notice that some of you have named the words, some of you already given the intensity of the emotion, as Lydia mentioned, right? So you have sadness and then you have disappointment. All these words fall sometimes in the similar category. So hopefully we'll cover some of that as well. Inside Out, that's right, Fatin.
So Inside Out, I guess it's a movie, right? Or not?
Yes, it is an animated movie that really helped everyone from children to adults get in touch, right, with their feelings and so on. So, yeah.
I'm going to watch this movie after today's webinar. I don't know why I'm left behind.
It's pretty good.
All right.
Highly
All
out the
right.
anxiety. That's good. Yeah. All
Thank you
right.
so much. Thank you so much for being so participative today. And we have one more question to you. So, since you know all the basic emotions so well, um, can you please describe your emotional state today by naming specific emotion that you feel now, today, in the chat box? But please don't use the words good, bad, okay, and maybe normal. Let's get creative. Let's get specific. All right, here we go. Excited, tired, surviving, demotivated. Wow, Deepa, we're getting a lot of answers here.
Yeah, and very honest ones. I like the uncertainty, demotivation. This is the reality of all of us, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, I can see it. Anxious, exhausted, motivated. It's very good to do this, I would say, exercise, to reconnect with what we feel like every day, because sometimes we get exhausted, we don't acknowledge our tiredness, and then it can lead to burnout. Because these emotions,
Mhm.
as I said in the previous slide, they all provide us with the information. They can provide us with the information about our mental health, about our physical health, about our communication skills, about many, many very important topics. If we just pay attention, what I feel today.
Yeah. And KQ, again, thank you for being so honest, right? Sleepy after heavy lunch. So we'll get into some practical points. So hopefully you can also all be able to relate to it. Thank you for such honest answers. Everything from angry to peaceful to overwhelmed. And yeah.
Yes, yes. Guys, you're amazing. Indifferent, yes, it could be an emotion. You feel like an apathy. You feel numb.
Yeah,
sometimes. Yes, it's
which is,
also an
yes,
emotion. Yes. All
correct.
right. All right.
Hurry sickness.
Uh,
Okay.
a hurry sickness. Interesting. It's interesting that here I think we can find new emotions that I never heard about before, right? Very specific ones.
Yeah,
All
and I
right.
think in the reality for all of us and those of you, when I was in corporate and likewise with all of you, feeling overwhelmed, feeling the busyness, which is very different from being productive. I think we all know that, and feeling overwhelmed and so on is that. So that's why today we want to really get into some of the details of how to take care of that. Yeah. Okay. So
Absolutely.
let's move on. Yeah. So
All
we'll
right.
cover the five pillars, Lydia. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So just to give a brief overview, right, of emotional intelligence, because it's a big concept and it appeared long time ago, and there are different theories also of emotional intelligence, and different psychologists they came with the different theories of emotional intelligence. But at the end of the day, they all have a lot of in common, more or less. So here we are looking at the Daniel Goleman's model of emotional intelligence, and he identifies 5 pillars of EQ. And of course, if you look at it, the main one that we start with is on the right upper side, self-awareness. So we can't understand others, and it's very difficult to be aware of others if we don't understand our own emotions. So we need to know ourselves. The best thing that we can do is actually get to know ourselves and how our emotions work, what we experience, and how we can manage them. Because it's a great asset and it's a great skill. Basically, know yourself to grow yourself. So, self awareness of your own emotions. And then we can move to self regulation here, right? Pause, don't react, respond, right? So, in a nutshell, self regulations, once we know what emotion we feel, how we manage them. It's emotional self management. How do we manage our anger? How we channel our excitement? How we channel our happiness about some project to be a role model for others? So what do we do with our emotions basically, right? And then in within this we have also motivation, which doesn't always come from the extrinsic factors like compensation or some benefits or reputation, but it comes from within. We feel excited, we feel interested, we feel delightful about doing something. For example, like, what do I feel about this project? And sometimes we feel very I don't know, resentful, or we feel very unhappy about some project. So we don't want to do it and we end up procrastinating. So internal motivation is a part of our emotional intelligence. And then we can move forward to other people, right? Once we know ourselves, we can move to empathy. So, how we connect with people, how do we understand, how we put ourselves in their shoes to understand their facial expressions, their body language. So maybe your team member is coming to your one-to-one meeting looking like that, very down, not having a small talk, not smiling, right? The empathy will help you to understand that maybe before going into the constructive feedback session, you need to understand what is happening with this person. Maybe he have personal issues. And at the end of the day, everything of this builds to our social skills and relationship management. And a lot of things are within the social skills is how we communicate with people, how we portray ourselves, our self-image, being a role model, influencing others, leading others, especially if you need to communicate and you are in people management role, for example, right? You deal with people every day. Social skills are crucial here. So, in a nutshell, this is what is emotional intelligence, and you can see it's many, many things. So I think I will stop here, right? And not to overwhelm everyone.
And
And
I
yep,
I just, yeah, sorry.
Yes, please
No,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to share something about self-regulation. If you look at what Lydia shared about don't react, respond, this is a very quick hack. I'm going to go into 5 hacks shortly in terms of what you can do at work. But one of the things that is important, what's the difference between a reaction versus a response? So just think about it. Let's take a very simple example. If there's a mosquito flying, we are staying in Asia, sometimes there's mosquitoes and mosquito flies and we keep doing this, and then we'll take a spray and we'll spray it, right? We're always reacting to the mosquito flying. And we know every day and day out at sunset or sunrise, there'll be mosquitoes. That's a reaction. Now, if we want to move towards response, we already know that by 6 p.m., there'll be mosquitoes. We take a mosquito coil, we plug it in or do the old style way, and we start preparing for it. Or we get the place fumigated or something to that effect. So reaction is very temporary, but it can be frustrating because if you keep reacting, then you're still having that same emotion over and over again. But if you are able to respond one and for all, it helps to take care of that. So those of you in corporate, think about it as you have a customer issue and a customer comes to you and they complain and they're always so irritated. They're so, so what's the word? So frustrated and they shout at you and you react because you're very upset. The customer is reacting to you, you react back. Now, that's okay for the first time, but a response would mean if that happens 2 or 3 times, sit down with yourself, with your leader, with your team, and say, you know what, guys, this FAQ, this concern can become an FAQ because every customer is frustrated. So now you have a response to get back to those moments, and then you get to manage your emotion. That's an example of reacting and responses at work as well. Okay. So I'd like to share now some, yes, Zulfadli, absolutely. Thank you, KQ, Dylan. Root cause rather than the symptoms. And I myself used to do that all the time. Why is this employee complaining? Why is this person complaining? But sit down and you put it all together as a postmortem, it can be powerful. All right. Okay, so what happens? Some of you are thinking, oh dear, what if I'm not so high on my own EQ? If you're looking at yourself and you're wondering, don't worry, there are different ways to take care of this. The first one is, let's say you're in a need to make decision, all right? And you feel you're not so high on emotional intelligence or the emotional quotient. We know that IQ cannot be changed, but as Lydia said, we get in touch with ourselves, we can improve our EQ, right? So what I like to call something which is behavioral physics, which is simple. Think about this. My natural reaction if I'm not high on EQ is if there's something to do on business, what is needs to be done, what is the result I need to overcome, that's it. But in actual fact, if you think about it from a training yourself on behavioral physics, it means I need to figure out that every business action I take will have a people reaction. Now, even thinking about it and considering the human side of people's emotions and reactions is already training yourself to be more EQ oriented. So let me give you an example, right? So as an example, if let's say we have a business action. So now at work, we've been told we have to reduce overtime costs. Okay. So typically, if I'm naturally EQ oriented, I will think, oh dear, what are people going to think about this? But if I'm not so EQ oriented, I will think, yeah, I need to send the email because OT has to come down. September onwards, we have to save costs. So what you do is you start training yourself to write down, okay, if I send this email, what is the possible people reaction? Now, some people will have happy emotions because, yay, less extra work because they're not going to be able to do overtime. But some people, I will also have to think that some people will be unhappy because there's loss of extra income. So then I can tailor my action to say, okay, I need to explain the rationale with the data. Maybe for those who want to do more work, allow them a roster to choose their time and so on and so forth. Okay. So please remember for decision making, the basic rule of EQ is every business action has a people reaction. So consider that. All right. The next one would be for communication. Now, this is something which I must commend the younger generation because you all are much better at this, especially the Gen Zs, which is showing your vulnerability. I'll be honest, I'm a Gen X, okay? So in our time, when I started in corporate, it was not good to show vulnerability because it was weakness. So we shouldn't say, I'm not sure how to do this. I don't know how to speak to you about this. All those were seen almost as taboo, right? But what's really important is if you speak from the heart. So again, you're not so comfortable being very people oriented, but remember, one of the best things you can do to train yourself is just be authentic. Sincerity can win. Whether you're an employee or a leader, go up and say, this is really difficult feedback to share. I'm not comfortable, but I feel this will benefit you. So starting by being authentic is great. The next one is admitting your mistakes. I think I did this wrong. I think I overlooked this. All these moments of vulnerability actually show that you're in touch with you're being aware, as what Lydia mentioned, self-awareness. And last but not least, to build up that people skills and that personal touch, let's try to use less common modes. Let's call people up, which we hardly do, versus chatting or using Teams chats, right? Let's meet people across the room. Let's walk up to them instead of always writing. So those are little things you can do also to enhance your EQ at work when it comes to showing your vulnerability. The next one, the last one, is on resilience, because the reality is you are always going to want and need each other, right? None of us is as smart as all of us, if you've heard that saying, right? So you're all working in corporates, you're working in organizations where the teamwork is key. So you want to show interdependence. So two things first. I was one of those people when I was younger who was very afraid to ask for help. Why? Because I felt it made me look weak. But in actual fact, again, it takes confidence, and it takes confidence with humility to reach out for support. Second, for those of you who know you're good at your area, you might be more senior, please offer help. Don't wait to be asked, right? I know we're busy with our tasks, but if it's a colleague in your team, actually make sure if you offer that help, everybody can win. And last but not least, talk about it. Share the challenges together. Discuss how you can, overcome it, because you never know. You may be sharing a challenge that someone else is going through as well. So very important to look at it from decision making, from communication, and from resilience. Just try to put that together. Okay.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. Deepa, it's so insightful, I can really resonate with what you're saying, especially with the vulnerability and with the stigma to the to the emotions. I would say maybe 20 years ago, right? Being like talking about emotions, naming your emotions, telling how you feel could be considered as being emotional. And emotional can be considered as being unstable, emotionally unstable, or saying like, oh, she's emotional. It's like, she's
Yeah.
doing this today, this tomorrow. She's not she's not consistent in her decision making process. But emotional is actually, it's stereotyping and stigmatizing people, because we are all emotional creatures and we all have emotions, and we can't deny that we are acting and behaving not just based on our thoughts, but on our emotions. And when you're saying like being vulnerable, right, there is also this thing is very important, I think, for communication skills, for non-violent communications. When you're not happy with someone's behavior and you come to your colleague and you say, why didn't you include me into this meeting? You always ignore my messages. That could be considered as an attack, because you're straight to go saying, you doing this. But actually, what is happening to you? You feel ignored, you feel uncomfortable. And if you come to your colleague again and saying, I feel, let's say, ignored, or I feel neglected because I noticed I was not included into this meeting, and just see what they're
Yeah.
gonna say. I'm sure that the response will be much less defensive, rather than you'll go and say, okay, you do this, you did that, you never do this, and so on and so forth. So sending this I feel messages, which is again referring back to your emotional state, to let know people how you feel. And we usually connect to other people's feelings very well as just human
Yeah.
beings. This is our nature. So I also would like to share some simple tips and simple techniques that we can use in managing our emotions, right? Once we are aware, okay, I'm aware that I'm angry. What do I do? Basically, where do I go with my anger, right? So we have tools that are reactive, right? That the situation is happening right now. Someone yelled at me, right? In the open space. And what do? I feel like I'm all getting red and my heart is beating and I'm going to say something back, right? So reactive tools and versus proactive. when you feel the immediate emotion right now, especially the emotions that you don't want to act on, such as anger or maybe sadness or maybe hate or something else, or resentment or frustration, right? So you don't want to act on these emotions. What can you do straight away? First of all, take a pause, right? So it's called like putting out the fire right now. So the fire is coming. So we need a fire extinguisher. So we need to cool down, take a pause, count to 10 or 50 or 100. Or let's say if there is a person in front of you and you know that you're going blank and you don't know what to say, the emotions are overwhelming, you can always say, excuse me, can we have this conversation later today? And going and I don't know, taking a glass of water, breathing, and sitting down and even verbalizing your emotions, writing down them on the paper, what I am feeling right now and why, what is triggering, and understanding the intensity of your emotions. So such techniques as breathing, taking a pause, verbalizing your emotions. If you can't go away and you have a person in front of you, you can say, I feel very uncomfortable. Can we talk about something else? Or can you explain to me? Right? Asking questions versus reacting. So there are many things that we can do on the spot. But also, if you know that you are the person who are easily triggered, you easily getting, let's say, irritated, or there is a repeating situation in the office that is happening and you're getting annoyed with it over and over again, we need to be proactive and overall make ourselves a bit more zen, a bit more relaxed, a bit more grounded, right? So taking care of your mental health proactively, and such simple things as good sleep, having proper rest, having me time, going for a yoga session, for example, working out, or giving space and time for the emotions to be let out. Because, like, when we're happy, we can go happy for days because it's so nice, so pleasant. I'm happy. I'm going to experience this emotion as long as it lasts, right? And I'm going to give it time and space. But when the anger happens or frustration happens, we try to push it like under the rug or brush it off, saying, I shall not feel angry. I shall not feel angry. But what is happening? The more you resist, the more it persists. So basically, we suppress the anger and we accumulate the anger. So I would say safe spaces to let your anger out. Go for a boxing class, punch a beanbag, shout in the pillow, journal, talk to your friend, go for coaching consultation at the end of the day, right? To let these emotions out. Anger, frustrations, and difficult emotions, strong emotions, they also need proactive measurements here. So this is how to deal with difficult emotions that we have that we can't act on immediately. Deepa, do you have anything here that maybe you would like to comment or anything from your experience?
Well, I think you said something that was really important, and I wanted to link that to one of the questions. And someone made a comment or a question. We'll get to one of the questions in a minute. What if talking is so overwhelming? That was one of the questions, and it's true because some people find it really hard to talk to somebody, especially whether it's because of a conflict or someone disappointed you. Could be an angry or a sad thing, right? May I suggest something that I used to do because I was scared to talk, especially if it's to senior people, is I will write everything down. Don't miss anything out. Write to yourself. It could be an email, it could be on your phone. Write everything out, everything that you feel. Now, from that, you then take out the 2 to 3 key points and use that as your summary of what you can at least use to talk. Because you've downloaded what you need to say, but you're not saying it to the person. You've downloaded it in writing. Some of you have heard of the trick. Write an email to yourself with all your frustrations. And then you take 2 or 3 key points because it cannot change unless you communicate that to the person. But then you don't do a whole download. You just choose the key points and you do that. All right. I will come back to 2 or 3 other questions a bit later. We haven't missed that. And I know that our admin will help us flag it out as well.
Yeah. Yes, I can see we have a lot of questions coming. So in order to have a Q&A session, I will move forward because I'm aware of our time. So here we just talked about the emotions that we usually suppress, right? So how we proactively or reactively manage them, right? Like being angry, being frustrated, being irritated, right? How do we stay more calm and composed? But sometimes we need to ignite more, let's say, so-called happy emotions in ourselves. Let's say you're about to give a talk, or you have a meeting, or you are in front of your team members and you need to be inspirational for them on particular project that is coming, right? If you go to them with a sad face and talking in a very, I don't know, lecture type kind of a voice, I don't think that anyone going to be excited, right? So in order for us to excite others and to prolong these happy emotions in ourselves, we also have the techniques, right, that we can do. Let's say proactively, if you know that you need to give a presentation, right, or you need to have a one-on-one consult or one-on-one talk with your team member, for example, right, and you need to give them certain emotions. You need to have these emotions in yourself. So how do we bring up the emotions? And the emotions could be different, right? It could be also writing down, right, how I would like to feel, what makes me happy, what is interesting, exciting, inspirational about this project. So looking at the positives here, right? So how do we light the spark in ourselves and how we keep the fire burning? Because sometimes work can get mundane. But what if we look like from the eyes of the stranger, that first time coming to the office, first time seeing this project, and looking only at the positives, right? To bring up the good, exciting emotions about, right? Or maybe you want to listen to some music before you are about to give a talk or presentation or something, right? The music that boosts your energy. Or maybe you want to listen to some TED talk or podcast, like that makes you feel confident, stronger, less nervous, less anxious. So we need to know ourselves to understand what are the small things that we can do that brings us into certain emotional state. It could be music, it could be workout, it could be food, it could be some rituals, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure every one of us have these rituals, but sometimes we just don't pay attention to them. Right. So I think that's it from my side on this slide. Deepa, if anything you would like to add on?
No, I think that's good. Yeah. I like some of the questions if you've seen that have come through, and I want to take one of it and maybe over to you, Lydia, as well, which was how to manage, emotions of a repeated issue which is outside your control, right? So it's something that keeps happening and you don't know what to do and it's outside control. So two things. One is I first would like to recommend that we look at ourselves first. So when you say outside control, maybe the entire issue is outside control in terms of the decision. However, are there recommendations? Are there solutions? Are there things that you can do within your control to manage that today? So it might mean the final solution is escalation. All right. Whether it's to your senior leader, whether it is to your colleague. And so having to have to talk about it with data, because again, sometimes when we are emotional, let's be honest, we talk from here, we don't talk from here. So we need to be able to sit down and really crystallize it in terms of factually what's gone wrong when we say outside control, and then speak to somebody, somebody who can help you with that. So that's what I wanted to say. The reality is, while we think everything is outside our control, if you're doing a job, I assume you're talking about something at work, you have certain things within your control. So focus on that first, and where necessary, escalate. But start by looking at yourself. When we are in control and we can take actions on what we can do, it's such a wonderful feeling, isn't it? Versus everything having to escalate to the boss. But there's a limit. So don't take on too much. Once you've tried doing things yourself, then if you need to escalate. Anything to add on that one, Lydia?
I totally agree with you. And sometimes we feel helpless and we think like something is happening and I can't do anything about it. But withdrawing from this and not reacting to this, also a choice. Yes, the same thing keep triggering you over and over again, but also deciding how you want to feel about it is your choice. Yes, you might be
Yeah.
irritated over and over again, but then you can just say, okay, I'm just going to feel calm. This is not affecting me. I'm deciding how I feel. The behavior of others is not identifying my emotions. It's my choice how I react. But that takes a while, right? That takes practice. It might not happen overnight, and it takes a while to do this work with our emotions. But the more you practice, I can say good news, it gets better day by day.
Yeah, I saw another quick question which I'd like to address because it's happened to me as well, and something I learned very recent. When somebody insults you, somebody irritates you, somebody is rude to you, my goodness, obviously we're going to get two possible emotions, definitely not happiness or sadness per se, but you'll definitely get irritated, or you get disappointed, you might get angry depending who the person is, right? Because we also react depending on who the person is. So one of the things I started doing is really telling the person in a nice professional way, but make them feel it. Okay, so in Malaysia we use the word terasa. We want them to feel it, which is really, for example, when somebody is rude, I just started saying, did you really mean for that to sound like an insult? Wow. The person is sort of taken, because they feel embarrassed, right? Nobody likes to be told that, but you've said it very professionally. Or sometimes I even said this to somebody who's a peer. I said, ouch, if you meant to hurt me, it's working, right? Or something like that. So you make them understand that it's really, it's not acceptable, but you're saying it in a nice way. Don't react with the same negative energy. That's what I'd like to say. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at some 5 workplace hacks. So I want to suggest something that we want to talk about. Okay, sorry, before that, let me just see what Nadia says. Very hard. I'm assuming you're talking about what I just shared. You're right. It's difficult to say to a senior person. So what I will do is, again, sometimes when we talk to senior persons, we say, you humiliated me, boss, or you embarrassed me, and so on. Now, the problem with saying it that way is you're making it like it was their responsibility, but we are responsible, as Lydia said, for how we feel. So sometimes maybe what you can do is to turn it around and say, I was quite humiliated and I felt embarrassed. By using the I statement, it makes it very hard for your boss or someone senior to say, no, you were not humiliated. No, you were not embarrassed. But if you tell them that they humiliated you or they embarrassed you, then it becomes a very power distance thing. So I know it's not easy, guys. I want you to try that. I also went through so much of this, but when you turn it into I statements, I'm so confused by what you want me to do, boss, versus you're so confusing because you always change your mind, right? There's a very different landing of how that is. Okay. So one of the hacks I want you to, yes, that's right, use more I about, because nobody can tell you how you feel. But if you tell them what they did and it made you feel, it's not their responsibility. Okay. So 5 workplace hacks. First one, we cannot control our first thought. That's the reality, right? So the first thought that comes into the head is, oh my God, how could he say that to me? How could she do that to me? But the reality is, if you think about it, you can and you must control your second thought. So whether it is what people say to you or do to you, or whether you say to yourself, we are not very kind to our state. Not very kind to ourselves. Sometimes we say, you're Deepa, so stupid. Why did you do? I shouldn't say that to myself. So my second thought should be, no, Deepa, you've got this. Let's figure out, even if it's one thing you can do. Everything is outside your control. What is the one thing? So number one, you cannot control your first thought. You must control your second thought. All right. The next one that I wanted to share is also something called, we must always plan for the worst case scenario. We know about BCP, business contingency planning. However, why is it when we go into a meeting, we plan for the worst? Okay, what if they ask me this? What if they ask this? Oh my God, what if I'm not prepared? So you're thinking of all the worst case scenarios. But isn't it true, guys, that most of our work outcomes are closer to the best case outcome than the worst case? So let's go in being prepared for the worst case, but start thinking of the best case to lift ourselves up. So I'm going to go in there and say, you know what? I'm going to present to the senior management and I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try and wow them. That's the way to go in, as opposed to, oh gosh, have I prepared everything? I think I've got my backup slides and so on. So place your mind, again, not easy, I know, but I'm just telling you, try and practice this, right? The next thing is, and someone mentioned this, should we ignore, or how do I deal with the tough emotions? Please remember this. It's okay to feel emotional at work. You must feel your emotions, as Lydia said. But what's not okay is to be emotional. So if you are angry, but that's fine. You can allow to feel angry. You're not allowed to be angry and throw the table and chair and, things like that. That's what's not okay. So if you label your emotions and you know what, I'm really angry at what Lydia said to me, then you can choose what your next action is, not a reaction, but a response to that. Okay, so please remember it's okay to feel emotions, but not be emotional. And last but not least, also sorry, two more. One is micro break, as what Lydia mentioned. It's so important. I really I have this thing on my phone where I have two clips from the Friends sitcom. For those of you who know, it's cross-generational, right? Friends are so much fun. So they make me laugh. So there are two clips which I keep, it's 2.5, 3 minutes, and I need a pick-me-up. I watch that, just makes me laugh. And you all know that smiling and laughter changes the hormonal makeup in our cells, right? The other thing is my favorite songs. So I use that, or even taking a 5-minute walk in our wonderful sunshine, all these things as micro breaks. 5 minutes, it just changes the way you feel about yourself. Okay. And last but not least, it's to center yourself. I understand why we can sometimes become really, panicky in a situation. We don't know what to do. We're stuck. We're overwhelmed. But center yourself. Remember, first thought you can't control. I'm in panic mode. Second thought, okay, what can I do? Oh, I can't do this. I can't do this. Yep, Deepa, but what can I do? There's always something you can do, even if the answer is escalate. Even if the answer is remove yourself from that situation for a 2-minute break. Okay, so I just wanted to share that these are some of the workplace hacks that have helped me. Does it work all the time? Absolutely not. Does it work a lot of the time? Yes. And I really want you all to hopefully try some of this.
Wow. So helpful. So helpful. I totally agree with Deepa, and there are small things that we can incorporate in our day-to-day life to pay more attention, right, to our emotional state, and hopefully to help ourselves to feel better, right, by reacting less, by being less edgy, less triggered, but more within control, within ourselves. And this is giving us confidence, I think, that I'm deciding how I'm going to feel today. Yeah, it's raining today. It's a thunderstorm today, but I feel happy. My boss is not happy, but I feel good, right? So others, I think it's also very important to separate other people emotions, because we mirror emotions. Let's say somebody going to cry next to you, your best friend, right? It's highly likely you might start crying too, because you're going to feel so sad about their situation, or you will definitely going to feel very upset or disappointed or sad for them, right? So in that case, it's very important to understand, right, our emotions and separate them sometimes from other people's emotions. Just because they are angry or frustrated or irritated doesn't mean that we need to take on. So is it my emotion or is it theirs emotions? Separating yourself, that's how we gain back the control of our state. But of course, I can see from your comments somebody saying it's very difficult. Sometimes I feel emotion over and over again, and it might happen. And you need to look into this. And sometimes we need to face uncomfortable emotion and to understand what was the root cause of it. What is the thought that is triggering this emotion? What is the context that is triggering this emotion? And what is the reaction of yourself to this emotion? So there is a work to be done, but it's all possible and it's all very, very doable. So I think the last thing that I would like to share from myself, it's also about, right, our goals. As a coach, as I always talk about setting goals, achieving goals, overcoming obstacles. But these goals are a lot connected with our emotional state. Am I in the right emotional state to do a certain thing right now, to work on this task, to work on this assignment, right? So certain emotional state correlates with a certain activity, and some emotional states are better to do something, right? So this is like a simple algorithm, a simple framework that you can use to be more productive and to be more efficient and to use your emotion to reach goals. So first of all, you need to understand your current emotion. Maybe if you feel angry and on the edge right now, going into some tedious task will be very difficult because you're going to be constantly distracted by the thoughts. And maybe you need to go for a walk first, let your steam out, decompress, I don't know, have some nice tea and maybe piece of cake to make yourself feel good. And then when you calm down, you can sit down. So here we're talking right now, first understanding what you feel and what do you need to do right now? Like, what is your goal? I feel angry, but I need to work on numbers right now on Excel spreadsheet. And it's very difficult for me right now. So I need to achieve the desired emotional state using different techniques. So basically, we need to either verbalize or maybe talk to a friend or maybe do something to get into the calm mode. Or maybe if you need to give a talk and you want to get into some like more boosting mood and inspirational, right? So what do I do now? Maybe I'll listen to some very high spirit music, right? Because it's going to make me feel motivated. So we need to choose the way to achieve a certain desired emotional state, which is more efficient for us to achieve my goals. Like, when you look at some maybe tennis players or sport people, sometimes they go, they put their headphones on, they put the towels all over their head. They don't see what's happening around, right? They don't want to get distracted because they want to stay focused. So you need to know which emotional state works better for you for certain types of work, goals, activities. So this is like a simple algorithm that you can take a note of next time you're about to do something. And instead of doing this, you're procrastinating. Maybe you're not in the right emotional state. So I can see we have so many questions and not so much time left. So I think we shall move forward, right, to answering the questions, right, soon. But we still have, yes, Deepa, over to you.
Okay. Just a very quick summary of this, which is, how do you measure your personal success if you want to keep the momentum? So there are a few hacks that both Lydia and I have tried to share. First thing is you need to have a toolkit of hacks. So like I told you, what's my toolkit? My toolkit now is to ask somebody when they insult me or they irritate me, I'm sorry. You see, when you say I'm sorry in that way, you're not really sorry, but it sounds so polite, doesn't it? Because you start with I'm sorry. But actually, what I'm going to say is, I'm sorry. Did you just mean to really say that and make me feel this way? Or ouch, did you mean to hurt me? Those kind of things really take people off guard, but yet you're being polite. Okay. So you need to have a toolkit. I have that. I have, like I told you, my little sitcom, my favorite song. Check in with yourself. Ask yourself how you're doing. Sometimes you're in work mode. What did y'all say? The hurry sickness, the sickness of busyness versus productivity. So check in with yourself to see how you're doing. You really need to do that, right? And then, of course, seek feedback. Ask your friends, your colleagues who are close to you, do you see change in my behavior? I'm trying this. Do you notice anything? Am I losing it? And so on. Know your triggers. Someone asked a question earlier on about what if this situation irritates me or the person. So if you know that is something that sets you off, you must already get ready. Okay, I'm going into this meeting. I'm going to maybe get triggered by this, but I'm going to keep my car. If you are prepared for it, you can respond versus react. The other thing, which is a different topic altogether, is ask yourself why this person or this situation sets you off. Because it shouldn't. If not everybody is being set off, then it is a me problem. Yeah. If three people in the meeting don't get irritated and only I do, I have to ask myself why me, right? And last but not least, which is also important, of course, is to celebrate small wins. The reality is, while we are part of corporates and we're in business, our own management of our emotional regulation, only we can celebrate that ourselves. So make sure you give yourself some credit for that. Yeah. So anything else, Lydia, before we go to the questions?
Nothing from my side. I think we have so many questions, so I'm very excited
Yeah.
to move to the
Yeah, we'll cover
questions.
the support and resources maybe at the end, right, Lydia? So we'll go straight to
Yeah.
the questions now.
Yes.
Do you want to take the first one down here? We'll move up. I'll help you move up as well. Communication style.
Yes. All right. So Nelly is asking, sometimes I feel my communication style and my managers don't match. How can emotional intelligence help me to adapt better without losing my own voice? Yes. So sometimes we maybe don't have the natural chemistry with people, or they say one thing, but we don't understand them. Then we say something, they don't understand us. So we feel that there is some communication gap. I would say being honest and telling how you feel. I feel that I don't understand. I feel confused. Saying to your manager, right? I feel confused. Can you please clarify this for me? Would it be okay if we double check what you said? Do I understand you correctly? So, referring to how you feel, right? And then asking clarifying questions and asking, is it okay? Can we sit down and look at this again? Because I feel there is some communication gap. I feel confused. I feel lost. I feel not heard. For example, like maybe you're saying something, your manager you feel is not hearing you, not understanding you. So opening up and showing your vulnerability and addressing the root cause can actually improve, I think, communications very significantly here.
Yep, good. Thank you. Okay, there's another question that's come in, and then we'll move up. Maybe Admin Divya can help us bring some of the others as well. So since this is right in front of us, controlling emotions is easier said than done. Absolutely, especially when it happens spur of the moment. I'm quick-tempered, most often react to injustice. I feel I have to voice it out. How do I overcome this? Thank you for being willing to react to injustice, first of all. That's important. So please don't stop there. And I think it's just in the manner in which you do it. So, like I said, I feel that these preemptive statements before you lose it is really helpful. So, for example, you know what? I feel really strongly about this, so I need to share something. Because if you don't say, I feel really strongly, and you just share it, can come across very curt, very direct, and almost rude. But when you preempt it, you look, I'm passionate about this topic, so I really feel I need to say something. I don't agree with this. It's because I feel so strongly about injustice, I need to say something. So whenever you feel a need to, again, remember your first thought is, I got to say it. Your second thought is, let me preempt it before I say what I need to say. Try that, because otherwise what will happen is you will be known as a reactionary person, right? And I think that's a fair thing. Yeah. Huh.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
there you go. Delay reacting. Pause always works, right? Okay, maybe you want to take the next one, Lydia. There's one down here. How can I apply?
Sure. All right. I can see one. Work is there on my desk, and my boss keeps giving more work. What should I say? Well, first of all, you shall understand how you feel about that, right? Are you okay with more work? If you feel you are close to exhaustion, right? You're close to burnout, and you are keeping silent, because what happens? If we don't say anything, other people might consider silence as an agreement, right? And that you are okay with getting more work. So maybe having a polite, nice, diplomatic conversation with your boss where you tell him what is currently your job scope, how much you're doing already, what are your current projects, to let them know you're already how occupied you are, and that you are not able to take more work, because then maybe the quality of the delivery will not be good because you're already fully occupied. So having an open and transparent communication in a non-threatening manner, I would say, is a step one here.
Yeah.
All right, Deepa, would you
Okay.
like to?
Very good.
Yes.
Got a few other questions. Let's see whether we can put some of that together. How do you handle? I get angry and frustrated when my colleague doesn't do any work, takes the credit. How should I deal? How do you handle a situation where you disagree? Okay, so let's talk about this. Handling frustration. First of all, when you are frustrated with a colleague and the person doesn't do work but takes credit, you have two options. One option is to take it up with the colleague. The other option is take it up with the supervisor. My suggestion is first take it up with the colleague, because sometimes it may what should I say, self-regulate. The problem may go away. So it may not be the person's problem. It's not their fault that they get the credit for it. The boss just happened to do it. So if you go to that person and talk to them, say, hey, I think I was part of this project too, but I noticed that there's no recognition for that. Is it possible for you to change that? So you're not telling him go and tell the boss. You leave it with him or her to make a difference on that. That's one option. If you feel you need to go up to the boss, you can. I'm not a big fan of that, because I've always believed, let the conflict creator, because there are two people involved, give them a chance to resolve it first, and only then escalate. Yeah. I know this is it's gone to something else right now. You've got the handouts. If I go back to the chat, the other question, someone said something very interesting, which is, if you get involved in other people's problems, it's overwhelming. You take on their problem. I saw that earlier. I put down some notes. Again, I like someone made a comment and they suggested separate the listening from the problem solving. And that's so true. So you want to be there for them. What I'd suggest is you tell your colleague something to this effect. I wrote this down because I remember something I used. You know what, Deepa, I don't have the answer for you, but I'm happy to be here for you to download all your frustrations. I'll be here as long as you need and feel free to share your frustrations. I can't, however, resolve this problem for you. Start with that. So let them just go on verbal, just telling you all their problems and so on, but you're just there to let them download. Then after that, the question is, okay, so which area do you want us to focus on? Because if you start taking on all the things they download, it's too much. Okay, so it's really overwhelming. So let them download first and then ask them to prioritize what do they really want to focus on for a discussion with you as a colleague. Okay, so many more questions, Lydia. So maybe you want to take one as well?
Yes, of course, but I'm just aware of our time, and I think maybe we can do the last question. Okay. Vionita, I'm seeing, is feeling low than the other, especially the one with higher position related to emotional intelligence. How to handle that? Always messy up if talk or present something to my boss. Well, feeling lower than other, especially we are talking about hierarchy here, right? So to different positions here, different power game here. You need to ask yourself, in what sense do you feel low and what kind of emotions this context is causing in you? So you need to face these emotions. Feeling low meaning what? You feel inferior, you feel not good enough. Asking yourself question, is it true? Because also watch out for your thoughts. Your thoughts are not always true. Sometimes we have a lot of irrational thoughts and we make irrational conclusions based on that. So challenge your thought process. You're feeling low because of what? And look for the facts. Are you really lower? Are you really inferior? Are they really better than me? And so on and so on. So go into this challenging process. It's related to the emotional intelligence because it's related to the emotions that you feel. And emotions are related to thoughts. Thoughts are triggering emotions, emotions are triggering more thoughts, and at the end of the day, all of this is triggering our behavior. So this is like a never-ending cycle, but we are able to dissect and to look into this. So always go deep, because sometimes a lot of things that I can see, I also in your questions that you're sending, is the top of the tip of the iceberg. So I would say always face what you're feeling, look for the thoughts attached to that, and see whether it's the fact, it's the reality, or it's an assumption. So yeah, many things to uncover, and I'm so sorry we don't have enough time for this today.
Yeah, I just wanted to share one last thing to close, which has helped me because I made so many mistakes around this, because I'm somebody who is, not poker face. If I'm happy, I'm happy. If I'm sad, I'm sad. If I'm angry, I'm angry, right? So what happened at work once, and I'll just cut the long story short and just say this. When you agree with your supervisors, this is especially for those of you with talking about going to the senior levels. You remember someone mentioned women get called more emotional and all. Absolutely true. I agree. Myself has happened to me. But what I'd say is this: when you want to agree with your bosses, when you agree with senior people, be emotional, be happy, show your passion, say, oh my God, I really agree. That's fantastic. Now, the challenge of that is when you disagree, when you're going to share an opposing view, bring that whole level down to a notch and just be more poker faced. And you can say things like, right, I'm just wondering, maybe there's an alternative, because if I match the same passionate energy when I disagree, that is when you get labeled emotional. I'm not saying it's right, but it's the reality of our workplace. So if I'm passionately agreeing with my boss, I am engaged and dynamic. But if I passionately disengage, suddenly you're called emotional. So what I've learned to do is dumb down my disagreement with senior parties, and I don't show it as much. But when I agree, I will be all positive and energized. So try that. It's not some, it's still, you're still sincere, you're saying the right things, but you're being a little bit more aware of how it comes out.
Wow, I think it was
Okay.
such an interesting and packed and productive and insightful session. And maybe before we finish, we go quickly through the support and resources, because we can't cover everything in this 1 hour. But what you can do later, right? First of all, the materials, right, you can download, and there are many things and techniques that you can use, right, for yourself in the future. And me and Deepa, we would like also to pay your attention to this wheel of emotions. You can also find it on Google or on Pinterest, right? It's available everywhere in internet. But this wheel, you can just download and use it every day to really understand, what do I feel today? Not just like angry, frustrated, depressed, happy, but you can say so many things, right? Helpless, out of control, shocked, disillusioned, perplexed, right? Cheeky, joyful, right? That we need to start verbalizing and pinpointing these emotions. Then we really know what is going on with us, and it gives us just more information.
Yeah.
All right, and just a few resources, right, for the Naluri. If you I'm sure a lot of you know already about the free 24/7 text line and helpline. If you feel you need urgent support, you're overwhelmed, you feel very like maybe uncomfortable within yourself, these are the numbers you can take note of and access Naluri support through them. And besides that, if you would like to continue your journey on emotional intelligence, you can always connect either with our mental health coaches or with the career coaches like me to work more on your communication skills, relationship management, your emotional self-awareness and self-management, right? So you can use this QR code for booking and for consultations. And if you are not registered with Naluri, please download the app and start using the services, because there are many, many beneficial things for you there. And you can also take the free emotional well-being assessment. I'll just pause here for a second for you to be able to scan if you would like to do so. And I think we are reaching the end of our session. Deepa, is there anything that you would like to add on? And yes.
No, I think thank you so much, Lydia. Great partnering with you on this. And thank you, everybody, for your questions. I mean, this really gives us an idea and a pulse of what you guys go through, which we know it's the reality of the workplace. I understand some people are saying, can we have part two? We
Yes,
will bring
yes,
that up
yes.
with Naluri. More than happy if if you find it of use, we are more than happy to come back. We can go on and on. It's a passionate topic of mine. Now I'm showing my emotion about this topic. But yeah.
Absolutely. Deepa, I totally agree with you. Of course, we covered quite a bit here. And I think, my friends, you have some tools, right, to enhance your emotional intelligence and to deal with your emotions every day. I just want to thank Deepa for this great session, and everyone for being so engaged, interactive, and for honesty and for sharing and sending so many interesting questions today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. All the best.
Thank you and bye.
And
See
I
you
know
next
our admin team
time.
will, yeah, our admin
Yes.
team will check on the slides because some of you have said it's not downloadable, but yeah.